All right, we're good.
Sweet. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4 of the Yinzhers podcast, officially brought to you by Infinity Trades X. I'm Morgan Urtso, here are my hosts, Jordan DeFigio, Samantha James. What's up? How's y'all's day going?
Awesome.
Yeah, not too bad.
I have had so many people in the past week specifically kind of like berate me on Twitter because I say y'all, and they're like, right. And I'm like, I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh, moved to Texas. My mom's from Texas. My dad's from West Virginia. Like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
I can't.
No.
You can only do so much. So sorry for saying
sound
y'all.
better than too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is that bad for our brand for us to admit that? Maybe.
It's a toss up.
It's a toss up. It depends. It's probably really old boomer men that are pissed about that. Throw that out there.
Boomer men and sandwiches. Sam had a sandwich attack her on Twitter this week.
If you are and your picture is a sandwich, please stop.
Jordan, I love your mask, by the way.
Hey, thanks. I have to have it on because I have some friends over right now. Everybody will see that later, but yeah, thank you. I got it at a local Pittsburgh shop, and it's really stylish, but not super breathable because it's basically like
towel material.
Yeah, it looks really thick, Jordan.
It does. For those of you who are
to make this one or wear this.
Right. For those of you who are just listening and not watching, she has a terrible towel mask on her face right now. It is terry cloth. It is pure terrible towel.
The thickest material.
She is amazing for putting up with that. Jordan, why don't you tell everyone what happened to our situation this week with our guest?
Sadly, we were supposed to have Aditi Kinkhabwala on the podcast tonight. She is very, very sick. Doesn't sound like it's COVID. It just sounds like it's the regular flu, which, if we can all remember, still sucks. So she was unable to make the podcast tonight. We're going to have her on another week. But unfortunately tonight, she could not make it because she's sick. So it's just the three of us, but here we are. And I think we're feeling pretty good, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, so much happened today that it's going to be okay. And we'll, Aditi, get well soon. We will see you as soon as you're feeling up to it. Looking forward to it, but heal up.
Yeah, get better. Yep, I can't even imagine being sick and having children, and oh my god, that would be
nightmare.
I don't even like taking my dog out when I'm sick. I'm like, can't you just do it yourself? Like, can't you
go out
by yourself? Not Lilo, she'll jump in the pool.
Oh my gosh. Danger.
Yeah,
it was a crazy day. There's a lot that happened around the league with the Steelers as well, but the biggest news was that the salary cap was finalized. We have a number. It is $182.5 million. That is down from 198 million, 198.2, whatever it was last year. That is down, but it is higher than what they were potentially anticipating because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So what does this mean, big picture, for the Steelers and across the league, that we have a number?
I mean, obviously, it's not what we wanted it to be, but it's not what we expected. I think that everyone was expecting something a little bit lower. This number may still be in flux depending on that Sunday ticket deal. Now, I don't know how much that will move the number up. I don't imagine it's any considerable amount, but when you're a team like the Steelers or the Saints or the Eagles or the Rams, one of these teams that are, we're cap compliant, but one of the teams that are struggling to get cap compliant or hold on to some of these free agents that they want to keep. When you're one of those teams, every dollar counts. Mm-hmm. So it will be interesting to see what happens beyond this point.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like we said, the Steelers are already cap compliant, and I think we're going to still see some contract restructuring. So I think that we're actually going to be in a way better spot than we anticipated.
Yeah, like we talked about last week, it was over a 12-hour period that the Steelers were millions of dollars over the cap, and then they restructured Ben's deal, and all of a sudden they were under the cap. And
like that.
Yep, just like that. They're continuing to shave off cap space as well, or create cap space. They restructured Derek Watt's deal today. So, and we're not going to be able to sign all the free agents. So there are things that are happening, and there's no doubt anymore that the Steelers will be cap compliant, and it helps to know what the number is so that they can start restructuring deals. They know how low the players can go while still retaining them. And we can kind of move forward with the season heading into free agency, which starts a week from today.
Right.
Right.
And not only will we be cap compliant, but with these restructures that are coming, with the restructure of Derek Watt today that saved us $880,000, inevitable structure of Stephon Tuitt, Chris Boswell, possible extensions of Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, David DeCastro, that's space that will add up. I saw a post today from a guy who is extremely knowledgeable. My dad sent it to me. He always sends me this guy's stuff. I wish I had his name so I could give him a shout out, but he is a cap genius. And he walked through every single guy that's eligible for a restructure, how much it would save us, every single guy that's eligible for an extension, how much X amount of years would save us if they amortize those bonuses, how much if we gave TJ his new deal this year, although we have that 5th year option on him, if we gave him his new deal this year, that would reduce his $10 million cap hit this year. So there are a lot of options that we have to get considerably under the cap, not just compliant, but able to sign some of these free agents that we really want, able to find sign Cam Sutton, Juju, Mike Hilton, possibly Bud. I mean, I know, Sam, you wanted to talk about, Bud not being franchise tagged.
Yeah, I think people freaked out when they saw that, which is weird because it wasn't unexpected.
Right.
Everyone, I think, thought there's no way we're keeping Bud and TJ. It's just not going to happen. Bud's price tag is going to be way too high. So seeing the Steelers not franchise tag Bud Dupree shouldn't have been a surprise, but they can still sign him. They absolutely still can. And whether their game is to say, hey, Bud, go get every dollar that, you deserve, and it's over that $18 million franchise tag, or they're playing the game of how much are people willing to risk on him coming back from that ACL injury. And it could go either way. I mean, we saw a PFF analyst this week, which don't really love that, but
take it with a grain of salt.
Yes. Say, Bud Dupree's so overrated. He's this, he's that. And so you just have to kind of wonder which angle are the Steelers playing with that.
Right. And you look at this free agent market, you see all of the releases happening across the league, shocking releases, things that we did not anticipate because of that lower cap. It's putting a lot of teams in a tight position, and a lot of players are losing their jobs because of it. Yeah. So what that means for that free agent market is not only is it going to be loaded with very capable elite athletes, but oversaturated to the point where a lot of these guys may not get the money that they anticipated getting or would have gotten it in a different year.
Right. Because my question is, okay, so Bud hits the free agency market. He's worth a whole lot. What team realistically can pay him what he's worth? Like that, I'm sure there is a team out there that could, the Jets, probably Jacksonville, but right. Is a guy like Bud who's played alongside TJ Watt really going to want to make this huge break the bank deal if it means I'm going to go to Jacksonville and play for this team that sucks?
We will never make it. Like, we'll never be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
Sorry. Urban.
No, I mean, it is what it is with Urban Meyer coming on. It's a whole thing.
Right.
I don't see that necessarily being super unrealistic that we do bring him back, because if I need to look at what you sent, but if we can continue to create more and more cap space and restructure things, that's why we have these guys on staff, is so that we can figure out what we can make work and keep the guys they want to keep. And
right.
I don't think it was just pulling it out of the air that somebody said the Steelers were still interested in Bud. Like,
absolutely. I mean, just because we are not franchise tagging him solely because we not afford to franchise tag him doesn't mean it's not possible to give him a long-term deal. Like I said, amortize that bonus over several years so that the cap hit is greatly reduced. That's not impossible. It's not improbable even.
Yeah.
Hearing that we're not franchise tagging a player who we franchise tagged last year, and hearing, oh, the Steelers are in cap hell, and hearing that we're, Alex Highsmith, next man up. We have all of these different voices in our head saying the Steelers are not signing Bud Dupree. Like, everything points to that. But when you look at the situation realistically, it is not that far outside the realm of possibility for the Steelers, especially when we look at possible cuts, which I hate to talk about. I don't like to talk about potential players being cut, but there are certain guys who we could cut and then bring back in for less money. So that is an option as well. There are so many creative maneuvering moves that we can make. And you look at guys like Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan, and you realize, like, this is why we pay them the big bucks, right? Because they get so creative with this stuff, and they somehow every year we just find a way to make it work. I have no doubt that this year will be any different.
Yeah, I 100% echo that. When we first looked at it, we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose 20 free agents. Like, we're going to have nobody left. It's going to be horrible. And now it's like, we're under the cap, and we're still going. Like, we're still restructuring contracts. Like, and I know it's going to piss people off, but I really do feel like they're going to sign Juju. They're going to extend his contract. Ben said he wants him there. Juju said he's willing to take less money.
There's agree.
No argument that you can make to me that you can't say the Steelers are better off without Juju.
They're not. With his ability to not only play in that part of the field and give it his all every game. I think we saw his value extend past the receiver position this year with the way he would sacrifice his body to fall on the football and find the football and fight for the football and make blocks. Like, he is a leader as well, regardless of what the home or media people will tell you. He's leading for this new generation of football players, and this generation of football players has to deal with social media. It's why whenever you watch something on NFL Network or ESPN, they put the little tag underneath whoever is talking, because we live in a world that exists with social media. You can't get away from it. And I think that him incorporating that part of how he takes players under his wing, like Chase Claypool, who's not a diva, it helps, because he's been in the league for 3-4 years now, and he's lived it. He knows what it's like to go on the field, play game to game, and also find other ways to make money. Because as you're seeing this year, there's no real guarantee that you're going to get your big payday in the NFL, because the cap fluctuates, the market fluctuates, pandemics can happen. Like, I think that, especially because Ben has expressed, I want Juju back, they're going to do everything they can to bring him back, because by all accounts, this is going to be Ben's last year. And if he believes that Juju helps them take steps to win Lombardi, then they're going to listen.
I share y'all's sentiments entirely about Juju. He is Ben's favorite target. He is the guy that Ben goes for in tight situations 80% of the time. He is the guy that you rely on in short yardage situations to fight for the first down. He throws blocks, line him up as a tight end. I mean, my God, we could get real creative with Juju's versatility. Wouldn't you rather, like, my question to these people who complain about him caring about Twitch and TikTok and social media and all that other bullshit, wouldn't you rather a guy who people say we cannot afford have other means of producing his own income so that he's not chasing the big contract? Wouldn't you rather have a guy who has other sources of income and other ways to make money, so he's not relying solely on a football contract and he's not chasing a dollar sign? I'm sorry. That just makes so much sense to me. And it baffles me that it's not clear as day to everyone else. When you look at him, you look at his low drop rate, you look at how reliable he's been, the third most reliable receiver in the league on adjusted catchable targets. I can't stress that enough. I talk about it all the time. I'm going to digress because I could spend a whole episode on Juju alone and the reasons why we should keep him and the reasons it makes no sense that anyone dislikes the guy. I can't justify any of it. Normally I can see like other people's, oh, I see what you're saying. I hear you. Nope. Shut up. Don't care. Don't want to hear it.
It's just that same idea of how people always go for like the easiest explanation or criticism of something. He excelled in the number 2 receiver position behind Antonio Brown when Antonio Brown was still here. And then he moved up to the number 1 receiver slot and understandably was seeing more coverage. It was his first year in that elevated role. It was his first real year just standing on his own as the head of that wide receiver room. And it was easy for people to say, he's on TikTok too much. He drops the ball too much. He fumbles too much. And it was just, nothing that they were really complaining about was correlating, because it was always, he drops it and he is showing that he's out being charitable in the community. I don't like him. And he's on TikTok too much and he fumbled that one time when it could have won us the game. Okay, maybe. The Steelers shouldn't find themselves in so many situations where one fumble costs them the game.
Exactly.
That's another thing. Because, I think we could all really, really go down the hole of Juju and why he needs to stay here and why we want him to stay here and why he's one of the better athlete personalities in Pittsburgh, because it's just endless. We could go on and on and on about Juju, especially Sam, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm surprised Sam hasn't gone to the top of Mount Washington and spread her arms and said, Juju is the king of the city. No one does it better than Juju.
I am just waiting for him to find that tweet and just go off on me, since he's now not only searching his own name, but he's searching Juju and Claypool's name. I did not think that the floor could get lower, and it has just continued to do that.
Below sea level at this point.
Oh my gosh, it's exhausting. And it sucks because you don't want to give him attention, but like, just shut up.
I feel like maybe screaming at him to shut up makes me feel better. So I'm like, maybe he finally will, but he
never. He loves it.
I swear his fan base is a cult. Like, you will not convince me otherwise. It's so bizarre. Like, oh, Mark Madden supports women. Really? Because he called me a whore, but let's like all right, yeah, that's supporting women. It's just hilarious. I could go on about that all day, which is exactly why we've started this podcast. So if you're watching it, Mark, this was started in spite of you.
Love ya.
Love you, Mark. Love you, mean it.
All right, let's shift gears away from him, because even just thinking of the initials of his name,
I have the heebie-jeebies.
Kind of like sick a little bit. So the draft is coming up. We're 50 days away from the draft. That's going to be here in a blink. And they've started pro days for colleges. So the players are working out with teams now. Stuff's happening. We're almost there. Who at this point does it look like the Steelers are going to be targeting in the draft, or broaden it a little bit? What position?
I will be shocked if they don't go offensive line in the first round. It will be a shock to me. Very rarely do the Steelers go for like a high name position player anyway. So I don't, people want Najee Harris, people want like the big name. And while I understand that viewpoint, like I said, I try to understand other people's viewpoints. I just can't reconcile how you look at how that line performed last year and you don't say the biggest need on this entire team right now is an offensive line that can block for the run. I don't understand how that's not the first priority you have. I also understand that this draft is relatively deep at the offensive tackle position, not at center. I don't think that we're going to have any luck getting a center this draft. We might draft one, but I don't anticipate getting a starter. But I would like to see, and I hope to see a offensive tackle in the first round. If not, it wouldn't surprise me if we go like linebacker, seeing as how, we lost so many last year, dropping like flies.
Yeah, because even with our amount of depth that we accumulated at the linebacker position, it felt like every game we were losing another and then another.
Right. And there's, obviously we have Bud, who we don't know if is going to be back. Avery Williamson, that's a 7.2 million market value for Avery Williamson. I didn't see enough out of him to justify that cost. But I was talking to Stryker last night on the podcast, and he kind of justified it for me. His tackles are insane, but it's not splashy, so you don't really notice it. I also don't see them spending 7.2 on him. I'll just be honest. We have a lot of priorities in free agency, and I don't necessarily think Avery Williamson is one of them, especially when we do really well drafting that position.
I was going to say, the Steelers typically don't make big moves in free agency. They don't draft huge names typically, right? We were shocked when we moved up to draft Devin Bush. There's nobody that could say, oh, I saw that coming. Like, you just don't. We don't do things like that. We don't trade for Mika Fitzpatrick. We just don't do those things. So when they do make them, everyone's caught off guard. I do think 100% that we do have to focus on the line, like what Morgan's saying. I don't want to use our first round pick on a running back. I just don't. When I don't care, yes, Najee Harris is amazing, but you put him behind that line and he's going to get beat up. And then now you have an injured running back.
We have to set up, right. You're exactly right. I don't, sorry to interrupt you. I'm just,
yeah.
I think that we have to set up whoever is running for us. We have to set them up for success. We can't just throw them to the wolves and be like, oh, good luck. Our priority is protecting Ben. So best of luck to you. That's not going to work for us. So something has to change there. And I do believe that it will. I do believe with Matt Canada at the helm of the offense, we will see considerable change there. It's just going to depend on personnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think over the last several years with those moves that Kevin Colbert has made for guys like Devin Bush and Minka Fitzpatrick, and even addressing the need at linebacker sort of last year with Avery Williamson, he has proven to be in tune with the needs of the team, and he understands what they need, and he's willing to do what it takes to get the guys that will fit in their system. And I think that if they don't address the line as a priority in the draft, it will kind of point to the fact that maybe they didn't learn from their mistakes this past
which would
year.
Be a damn shame.
It would be, especially since there's a very good chance that this is Ben's last year. We have one more run at, I keep wanting to say the Stanley Cup because that's so fresh in my mind, but the Super Bowl, I almost did it again, Super Bowl for a while, because you figure it just so happened that we got Ben, and he's been playing for going on 20 years and has done so well for us. There is no guarantee we're going to get a franchise quarterback of that caliber in the next 5 years. So that we might be entering into some not miserable days, but some darker days.
Some uncharted waters.
Yeah, while they figure things out. So you have to figure they all know that. They know that with this time limit, the clock is ticking, and they really need to do all they can to put a team around Ben so he's not carrying the team anymore, because that's really why they collapsed at the end of the season. He was trying to carry the team like he was 24 years old, and he's not. He's almost 40, and he just couldn't do it. And that's why people say that he fell off a cliff. Well, yeah, his team pushed him. He had them all on his back, and he couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
And he needs protection so that he's not trying to throw the ball in less than a second. And the running game needs protection. And we do need a running back because especially if James Conner is out of here, like Benny Snell and McFarland, they're just not going to cut it from what we've seen. I would not risk this year putting all my chips in those baskets because they just don't seem to be not yet, at least. So I think that running back is going to need to be addressed in the draft because they're probably, like you said, Sam, they don't go for the flashy free agency signing. So Aaron Jones is a pipe dream as much as I would love to have him.
I saw Steelers fans going back to Le'Veon today, and I'm like, did we not learn the first time? I'm so confused. Like Emmanuel Sanders again, like why are we like this? I just want to know why our fan, and I'm sure it's every fan base. We just don't see it because all we see is Steelers fans. But like, please stop.
I think Steelers fans, and I might be alone in this, but I feel like Steelers fans particularly get really attached to our players, to our guys, to like our homegrown, like the guys we draft and the guys that have mad success with us. I think we get really attached to them. Like, look at how we love Juju. Up until the very end, like I fought tooth and nail with my father, who swears he knew from day one about Antonio Brown. I loved AB. I defended that man embarrassingly so. So I think that it's like I think it's a Pittsburgh thing. I think that we just like have love for our guys. Yeah. We do. We need to go to therapy.
Called them last week. Which is funny because you now look at, we signed a couple 1-year extensions this week. Marcus Allen, today was Ray McLeod, and it does make you wonder in that linebacker position, especially where we thought we had enough depth and then it just was not enough depth. Do you think that they will sign Robert Spillane to a 1-year extension?
I think why not. Yeah, because he's going to be relatively cheap.
It's going to be cheap.
And that hit on Derrick Henry alone to keep him out of the end zone is enough reason in my mind to give him a deal because he's not that tall. And the strength that he displayed in his awareness, the interception, the pick six against Baltimore, he's got some potential. And I think that having him in that room makes the room better for very little cost. So I think that I'm
no-brainer
all for them signing him. Yep.
It's a no-brainer if you ask me. Jordan, you're exactly right. That hit on Derrick Henry, solidified, I think, for all of us that he belongs in Pittsburgh, that this is where he should be. Even if he's not starting, he would be arguably the best backup in the league if that's the position that he is ultimately given after training camp. I don't anticipate, he could be starting. I think that he's earned that. And I saw out of him like fire that we had kind of been missing. Especially like so deflated after losing Devin Bush. When Spillane got hurt, that hurt our entire defense. And I think that's saying something.
Yeah, we noticed his absence for sure.
Absolutely. Now, what about free agents like Zach Banner, Sean Davis? What about those guys? I think Banner is for sure back. Tomlin all but said you're the guy.
100%. I think that Banner, prior to his injury last season, worked really hard, was given the starting position. His injury just decimated that. You could tell he was literally heartbroken over it. I do think that's going to give him even more motivation, though, to come back. And it, as you stated before, Morgan, it's going to be his spot to lose.
Right.
Go out there, show us what you have. Let's see what happens.
And getting him back, and hopefully having Kevin Dotson on the line in the starting role, that automatically improves the offensive line considerably. It doesn't fix all the problems by any stretch, but I think that we will definitely see Zach Banner back because there's really no reason not to sign him because he got injured so early in the season. And again, it's going to be one of those things where he's not going to be expensive to bring back because that would have been his first year as a starter, and teams aren't going to go out on a limb to pay him more than the Steelers would to sign him in this cap climate. So I'm excited to see him because
Me too.
Like you said, Sam, he works so hard. He works so hard to fight for that spot, and he earned it. And I think he'll come back. I really hope, if they're not bringing Hilton back, that they do bring Sutton back. I think in my mind, it was an either or thing, maybe a both sign thing, but definitely don't let both walk thing. Like
we can't, like, we have to sign one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if, people are anticipating, before he shut it down, that Joe Hayden was going to be a cap casualty, right? Like, we know that's not going to happen. We think most likely he's going to be extended, which thank God. But I love the idea of keeping Cam Sutton. He's a physical dude. He's phenomenal in coverage. I love him in the slot. I don't love him on the outside, but that's something we can address at a later point. I love the idea of having Cam Sutton back up Joe Hayden in these transitional phases of moving from Hayden as our starter into possibly Sutton as our starter. I love the idea of finally drafting a CB and developing him into a capable and efficient corner. We haven't done that in so long.
But yeah, the Steelers struggle so hard with it.
Exactly. So when we do it, like, hold on to this guy. I mean, I think that's clearly the answer. I know Sportrack had him listed as like a value of 7.2 million. I think that's a little high. I'll be honest with you. I think that's high for him. Just because we don't have enough of like a breadth of work to judge that on. And especially in a year like this year. I mean, 7.2 is going to be high for anyone. But what about Sean Davis? That's the last one I wanted to talk about.
I don't see them bringing Sean Davis back. I don't know. I think Edmonds, was progressing upwards. His projection is ascending. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
I loved him on special teams. That's why I ask, because he was very effective, very visible on special teams. He made some splashy plays. That Washington game,
and that, that's where you get into the maybe they should bring him back because
he's depth in the secondary also.
Right.
Yeah, when you find guys who play well on special teams and excel in that area, that's rare. So
I agree.
I don't know, but is it going to be worth what they would pay to have him just flexing in the secondary and on special teams? They might even. I know that it's not ideal to have one of your starting wide receivers playing special teams, but Chase Claypool really stepped up on special teams this season.
Yeah.
So it's not outside the realm of possibility that they could find some, creative way to fill those spots on special teams and let Davis walk. I'm a toss up on him. I feel like I'd rather them put that money elsewhere because we do have so many other players who are on that list. And I don't think that the reward would offset the cost to bring him back.
So the guy who I was telling you about earlier, who my dad sent me out his rundown of our free agents and the restructures and all that, he said that he anticipates that Sean Davis will test the market first, and then the Steelers will grab him back on a 2-year deal because he's not going to like what he finds on the market. And he's saying primary backup at both safety spots, 2 years, $3 million with a $1.25 million cap hit this year.
Okay.
So
I think
this guy's plan also has us keeping Bud and Juju, by the way. So just take that for what
you're like, will. How realistic is it? But I do think you're going to see a lot of players signing 1- and 2-year contracts because of what the cap situation is this year. They're not going to get locked into 4- and 5-year extensions right now. That's just not going to happen.
Right. you're not wrong. We're in uncharted waters. We don't know what's going to happen with the salary cap next year. We don't know how COVID is going to affect this year's season.
Right.
We don't know how things are going to play out. So I think that erring on the side of caution and not giving anyone massive contracts that you know you're not going to be able to afford,
Right.
probably smart.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we have a ton of cap space next year.
Yeah,
Very
that'll
good
help.
Let's move on. We have a buy and sell segment. This is a new segment we're doing, guys. It's the buy and sell, brought to you by Infinity Trades X. If you're interested in trading on the stock market, or you're a first timer looking to jump in and, you know, just learn, this is an excellent resource for you. I personally use Infinity Trades for a lot of trade advice on the market. I consider myself a day trader. I shouldn't say that publicly because I'm not technically allowed to be. But excellent resource. You can find them at Infinity Trades X on Twitter and at infinitytradesx.com. That's their website. Check them out. So for buy and sell, we're going to go around and discuss. I want Jordan, you to go first. Buy or sell Najee Harris in the first round.
You I see a team. Sell? I for the Steelers, I'm not sure, but it just in general, him going in the first round, I buy that. I could see him going in the first round to a team who is just a strong running back away from being in serious contention. Or because I feel like the teams who are picking earlier in the draft have way bigger needs that they need to address. A lot of quarterbacks in this draft class that are going to go early on. I see him falling mid to late first round, maybe for a team like, I don't know, Green Bay, who just lost their star running back to free agency. And
just like plug and play.
Yeah, plug and play. Yeah. Just get him in there. The offensive line is solid. Aaron Jones really excelled in that environment. And I don't see Najee Harris really hitting any type of rookie slump. I feel like he's going to be off to the races quickly with a team that is set up for success on the offensive side of the ball. So I see him going in the first round just because he is so freaking talented.
Right.
And he has the size and the strength and the agility and the vision. He's the complete package in a running back. So I don't see him going early, but I do see him going in the first round.
Sam, what about you? You buy, you sell?
Yeah, I mean, 100% what Jordan's saying. Like I said, I would not take a running back for the Steelers in the first round because that is not our utmost need, and it's not going to do us any favors if we take a running back when we have no line to help him out. But I do see him going in the first round for sure.
I personally am selling the shit out of this. Like, I do not want Najee Harris in the first round. Not to say that I don't think he's great. I think that he is a great running back. I think he will find major success in the NFL. There are just running backs for this team that I prefer over Najee Harris. I love Travis Etienne. I love him. I love Javonte Williams. Those are options for second, possibly third round that we could grab without reaching. I think Najee Harris at number 24 is a reach. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. I would rather, I'm not one of those people that's going to sit here and say, if we draft Najee Harris in the first round, that we're ignoring offensive line and we're not, we should have handled offensive line first. No, obviously we get the players on the same day. So it doesn't really matter. They're all going to come to us on the same day. So if we can get an offensive lineman in the second and third round that we feel is going to do Ben justice and put the team around him that he wants around him, he's back for one reason. Like, let's not act like we're ignorant to that. He wants to win. So he's trusting that we're going to put the best team around him. I think in order to do that, we don't take a running back in the first round. Ben knows the running game is important. Ben also knows how important an offensive line is to a running game. So I like him. He's a lot of carries. He's got a lot of carries, and he's a little bit older than I would like to get a running back right out of college, but is what it is. They can't all be Juju coming in youngest in the league.
Crazy.
So.
Anyway,
they'll get their guy.
They will. They always do.
They always do.
They always do. They pick names that you're like, who?
They know better than us.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's be
yeah.
honest.
And I think back to Willie Parker even. Who was he when we drafted him? Not really much of anybody, but like he proved himself on the team and his speed and longest carry for a touchdown in Super Bowl history. Like he played with the team really well. And I think that they'll find somebody.
I'm pretty sure Willie Parker was undrafted actually. So he's like a James Harrison. Like
Diamond in the rough.
you get lucky with these guys. Like you see something in them. These coaches and Colbert and Tomlin see something in these guys that they value, and that's why they're taking them at this position. I would implore everyone as Steelers fans to not write these guys off just because it's not the pick that you wanted.
Right.
We see a lot of that. Right. We see a lot of that. People get upset when we're not taking the big name in the first round. If it's someone they haven't heard of, or if it's someone that, McShay sits up there and says, "Oh, I'm not so sure about this pick." Like, come on, let's give these guys time to.
Sorry, Morgan. Last year,
go.
Kevin Dotson.
That's the name that I was thinking. Yes.
Nobody knew who Kevin Dotson was. There was no draft profiles on him. He wasn't even invited to the combine.
Right.
Like, I don't even know where they found film on him, like what they pulled, but they knew, like, you're like, Kevin Dotson, who the heck is Kevin Dotson? And like, holy shit, he's fucking amazing.
I mean, yeah. So, we trust what they're going to do. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm scared. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But first, let's tackle free agency. So
yeah, same. One thing at a time. This
exactly
is already so overwhelming with this cap nightmare and unpredictability. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
50 days it'll be here in a second, but oh my gosh, the last 3 days, so much has changed that you just have no idea what the team is going to look like and what the league's going to look like.
Every day I wake up and I'm like, what's the alert today? Like, what news am I going to wake up to today? So hopefully tomorrow it's Steelers have agreed to a new contract with wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, and I will sleep well.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's wrap this thing up. We've been here for 40 awesome minutes. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. We had so much fun. We missed you, Aditi. Next time. But yeah, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Yinzhers, on Instagram at Yinzhers Official. We look forward to interacting with you there.
Yes, we always love hearing from you, what you think is going to happen. We put questions out there to kind of get that engagement up and see what you think and kind of get a feel for where Steeler Nation is with all that's going on. And you can also subscribe to us wherever it is you listen to podcasts on all platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, there are so many. Wherever you're listening to podcasts right now, just hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode whenever it airs, because we are airing episodes each week and we want you to be able to hear and enjoy and learn, hopefully. But thank you once again for listening. We will see you next week.